In this video I'm going to take you on a little tour on our farm and show you how things are going. My name is Moreno from the Dutch Farmer, helping you transition from your 9-to-5 to farm life. And May is a beautiful month where the abundance really starts to show. If you've been following this series from the beginning, you remember that in the beginning of this year we started planting flowering bulbs and several shrubs that are creating a nice lovely little hedge or barrier on the perimeter of our growing beds. Although the walnut tree casts a big shade onto these plants in the morning, they still receive about 4 to 6 hours of sunlight during the afternoon, which is more than sufficient for most of these plants and also for most of the fast growing vegetables that we grow. In fact, I have noticed that many of you have shared your concerns as well as your admiration about growing vegetables on the trees and in shady locations. And I can assure you that I'm currently working on a video that will cover this topic, where I will share some of the benefits of growing on the trees, some of the disadvantages, and several tips if you want to create a similar setup. So make sure to keep an eye out for that video. It's been a little while now that we've planted this strawberry and asparagus patch, and they start to grow pretty well now. As you can see, I've also included garlic in the mix, and that's not so much because this is a proven combination of plants that can grow together, but my way of thinking was more in the lines of knowing that strawberries and asparagus will barely, if at all, give any yields in their first year and will take a bit of time to get established, and in the meantime, with the garlic, we can have a harvestable and sellable yield within the first growing season. So far, this little experiment of establishing a strawberry and asparagus patch in combination with the garlic has been quite a pleasant experience, and we can't wait to harvest the garlic. They really start to look healthy right now and will surely be enjoyed both in our own kitchen as well as that of our customers. The only thing I haven't had the time of doing yet is to lightly mulch the entire patch with a thin layer of fine wood chips. That would help a lot with the weed suppression as well as with keeping moisture in whilst feeding the soil food web. But as with anything in life, we do things one step at a time. Here we are standing next to an edible strip of perennial plantings on the bottom of our property. This is a great little strip of mainly perennial edible shrubs interplanted with beneficial plants like comfrey, perennial herbs and some flowers to increase a bit of the diversity on the farm, attract beneficial insects and provide us with a good source of vitamins and food. In this hedge we've planted black currants, red currants, raspberries, goji berries, gooseberries, blueberries and a whole bunch of other plants that is mainly planted for our own consumption. I'm still sometimes surprised at the quantity of plants and the amount of food we are able to grow on such a small piece of land. Definitely during these times we are currently living in, it is important to utilize as much of the space you have available to grow lots of food, whether you do it on a commercial scale like we do, or for your own personal consumption. Growing healthy food is a skill that I believe everyone should learn and practice. The high tunnel plants are thriving at the moment and are growing extremely quick. Cucumbers and tomatoes are starting to form, and it won't be long now before we are able to start harvesting some of the first heat-loving crops in here. Something we've noticed this year in the high tunnel is that we've been getting much more aphid attacks on some of our plants. Most noticeably on some of our cucumber plants and eggplants. What these little creatures do is they suck juices and sugars out of plants, and depending on the severity of the infestation, this can cause quite some harm and causes the leaves to be misformed, curling up entirely, and in severe cases even kill them. Even in small quantities, the aphids will at the very minimum stress a plant out, which makes it much more susceptible to disease and other pests. Fortunately, it's quite easy to fix the situation. You can either make a simple organic soap solution and spray that onto your plants and wash the aphids off, or better yet, introduce ladybugs and their larvae. These can either be bought in online, or in our situation we've got a huge amount of ladybug larvae on some of the trees at the moment. So we can simply collect as many as we want and introduce them onto the plants that have been affected. Ladybugs and their larvae will happily feed on the aphids and will control their populations. The fruit and nuts also start to develop nicely. The walnut tree is going to provide us this year with a real bumper crop, as it is completely loaded. We're probably looking at around 100 to 150 kilos of walnut this year from a single tree, which is awesome. We don't have to plant it, we don't fertilize it or maintain it and manage it. It simply does its thing, grows abundantly, and at the end of the season it provides us a huge quantity of extremely healthy nuts. It is also going to be a great year for our plums, as they are completely loaded. Fortunately, we have had a pretty heavy rainfall and windstorm not too long ago, which has helped a lot with the thinning of the trees. They were actually too loaded with fruits, and if you don't thin them out, the fruits will be much smaller and won't have the same quality. The pear tree is also completely full of fruit and will very likely yield anywhere between 50 to 100 kilos this year. It's such a different context compared to the market garden, where we are working with mostly annuals and putting our blood, sweat and tears into the production of the crops. Yet we don't pay the least attention to the fruit trees, and they provide us year after year with an abundance of fruit. And that's something to really consider when starting a farm. Because although annual vegetables can be highly profitable and will always be a huge part of our farm, and are one of the few key agricultural enterprises that can generate a good revenue and profit in its first year and subsequent years, for long-term farming strategies, the market garden should only be seen as one key component of the overall farming enterprise. If you are planting a perennial system with fruit and nut trees, shrubs and edibles, you do everything to give it the best foundation and start, and over time it will be able to provide you with an incredible abundance whilst your workload highly decreases. So in that regard, I think that even for market gardeners and small farms in general, if we want to become more resilient, we need to increase the diversity and systems and create mixed farming enterprises. But that's more long-term thinking, and if you want to delve into farming, it is extremely important, as I've experienced firsthand, to focus first on getting one enterprise going and get it going good before delving into something else and spending time on other projects. I hope that all of you are not too negatively affected by this current crisis, and I hope you're all doing well and staying healthy. If one thing this current situation has taught us is that small farms are extremely important for the well-being of our communities. Locally grown, organic produce is in extremely high demand at the moment, and I don't see this changing soon, as more and more people are waking up and seeing the importance of nutrient-dense, unprocessed foods to feed their families. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Have a nice day.